Okay. Okay, so now after doing all the movements, I want to reflect on how I did. For the deep squat, my heels obviously weren't flat on the floor. My knees were too forward over my feet. My hips were below my knees, but I really wouldn't count it because I was on my toes. It's hard to tell, but I believe no part of the dowel or my body touched any part of the door frame, even though it looked pretty close when I was rewatching the footage. And also, my feet were parallel. My final score is obviously a fail. Next, for the hurdle step, for my right foot step, the dowel dips slightly to the left. And then for both legs, when I stepped, my ankles weren't exactly aligned forward. They kind of slightly turned when I was stepping over the hurdle. And then I had a little movement in my spine for each movement, especially though for when my right foot was forward, so I was dipping the dowel. And then for my final score, it's obviously a fail because I didn't follow the criteria. And then I want to mention that I felt like I had more mobility when stepping with my left foot compared to my right. So I wanted to take note of that. For the inline lunge, when my left foot was forward, I had lots of upper body movement, like I was very off balance. You can watch the footage, I basically fell over after completing one. And then also but my knee did touch the back of my heel. And then for when my right foot was forward, I hit the dowel against the wall. You can hear it literally hitting the wall in the footage. There was lots of upper body movement again. I was definitely a lot more off balance with my right foot compared to my left. I lost my balance trying to stand up from the movement. And yeah, so my final score is, again, fortunately a fail as well. Now for the next movement. For the straight leg raise, my opposite leg was not straight up. I totally forgot to do that. It's unfortunate. My opposite leg moved a bit slightly when I was watching the footage. My knee was extended on the opposite leg. I did that correctly. And then while it's close, my outside ankle bone does not clear the doorway. It was very close, but I didn't want to give it to myself because it's not a door frame, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I think when I was like comparing my door frame to that one, it was still not clearing it, comparing the sizes. And so again, unfortunately, my final score was a fail. And then for the final movement, for the seated rotation, the dowel touched both sides of the wall. The dowel was level and contact with my chest the whole time. And then my spine did remain straight and upright for both sides of the movement. So my final score was a pass. So I was able to pass one of the 5, which was surprising. I think the main takeaway from doing all this is, I don't know, I played sports in the past. Like I'm not an athlete, I was just very surprised that some of the movements were so difficult. Like I definitely, if there's one thing I can take away from this is hip mobility. I need to work on my hip mobility. I need to be able to do a deep squat without being on my toes. Like that's really important. A squat is a very important movement to be able to do. And I was kind of like a little mad at myself or embarrassed that like I really couldn't do that movement. I even had some of my family members try and they could do it. So that was even more kind of unfortunate. But I definitely feel that if I could practice and just maybe stretch more, especially my hips and other parts of my body, that I could definitely get to a point where I could complete all these exercises. But that's not going to happen in a day, a week. It's going to take maybe a couple months, just constantly working at my hips, working everything to make sure that I can do every movement correctly. And yeah, thank you for listening and take care.